Welcome everyone to the Proven Knowledge Podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Church. I'm a music producer from Northeast Ohio. I began this weekly interview series to give you different perspectives from artists, producers, engineers, and other individuals in the music industry. In each episode, we touch on not only what has helped the person succeed, but we also touch on what has shaped them into the person that they are today. I hope you're able to gain some real proven knowledge from the show, and that it helps elevate you on your own journey to success as well. Let's get into it. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to episode 275 here on the Proven Knowledge Podcast. Today I welcomed another member of the Beatcast, also co-host of the Beatcast, Dellvon Watson, formerly known as Mr. Watson, to the show. Obviously, I talked to Ill last year, talked to RTC Shogun a few weeks ago. I'm trying to get everybody from that platform on this show eventually, and I was able to reach out to Dellvon, get in touch with him about a week ago, and we made this episode happen. Very cool episode once again. We talked about, FL Studio. We're both FL Studio guys. He talked about being able to start on another platform initially, but then leading to FL Studio in his production and how he has been able to stick with that over the years. He's been producing for about 20 years now, very impressive track record. And we talked about the Beatcast itself, how he got involved in that community, and how that really got a spark in him to continue doing production more frequently once again, how he was kind of in a cold spell for a little bit, and that kind of snapped him out of it to be able to continue to evolve and create and be involved in that awesome community. So really, really awesome conversation. I think there's a lot of great tips in here for, perseverance, longevity, things of that nature. And Dellvon makes a lot of incredible music. Definitely go tap in with the stuff he's put out as Mr. Watson and as Dellvon. Overall, it's all great material. And once again, shout out to him for taking the time this week to join me on this episode. So without further ado, let's get into this one.
Oh, we're rolling right now?
Mm-hmm.
All right. My name is Dellvon Watson, formerly known as Mr. Watson. I started producing probably, I think I officially call it 2006. Started out with Cakewalk. Then that slowly turned into using FL, learning about that. I started with 7. So got into that, started learning it. Moved to 8 and stayed with 8 until like 20 came out.
Man.
I stayed with 8 forever. I still have it.
That's
crazy.
Love it. I was going to say I started on FL 12, and that was probably like 2015, something like that. And then I spent a good amount of time on there until 20 came out. I do like 20 a lot.
20 is really good. Yeah. I have zero complaints about it. I know that there were some people that were saying, they didn't like that they had to wait for stem separation or whatever, but I don't know, man. The one that I've seen with the newer versions, it sounds really good.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't have any complaints about it.
For sure. I like to ask everybody that is pretty much an FL person like myself, what kind of led you to using it initially, and then sticking with it so long? Because you're talking about almost 20 years now of using FL and kind of using that in your workflow. So what is it about FL that you gravitate towards?
So when I started on Cakewalk is very, very simple. For those that don't know, from what I understand, BandLab is now what Cakewalk was.
Okay. So
it was like the progression into them doing it. And if I'm wrong, somebody please correct me. But basically, my boy's dad, one of the dudes that I used to make music with, his dad had an entire studio set up at their house, like a full room, an entire room dedicated to just the whole room was sound dampened from top to bottom. He had all types of rack mount gear. He had keyboards and guitars, drums, all that. But they were making like metal and grunge and stuff. But he had a bunch of leftover equipment. And me and his son started getting he was a dude that I went to school with. We started getting into making music. he had an old copy of Cakewalk. I don't even know what version it was. I just know this was like 2005, 2006, somewhere right in there. So anyway, I started using that, and it was very simple and easy to get into, but I wanted something that was a little bit more advanced because, again, the version that I'm sure we were using was probably really outdated by that point. His dad stopped making music like a long time ago. So this was around the time when I discovered who Ninth Wonder was. And I remember, like, I don't know, man, that dude, he's like the reason I started making music.
Yeah.
The production that he had was mind blowing to me. Like, I couldn't believe after my boy had told me, like, yeah, he makes this on the computer. I'm like, yo, this is the what? Like, we have access to the same thing. And so, yeah, man, it turned into me listening to absolutely everything that guy had to put out. And then, that leading into getting it to listening to Crisis and everybody like that. And I don't remember how I found it. I'm sure it was on LimeWire. I know my computer got AIDS from it, but I ended up downloading a crack copy of Seven, and that was my intro. And after that, I kind of just got into it. The thing that I think is interesting about FL, kind of to answer your question of why, like, I continue using it, I would watch tutorial videos, like when you're trying to learn something, you know what I mean? See how people get into it. And every single person that I watched make beats on it made them in a completely different way. And I thought that it was a really versatile program. I thought that was super dope how there were so many different approaches, you know what I mean? Like how you could go into making it. Like the way that I was doing it was I would use the playlist, the option, the playlist option. I wasn't doing the click track, like the step sequencer. Yeah. That's what it's called. Yeah. I wasn't using that to do anything. I was using basically like the event editor and sampling through there and then chopping through the grid. I didn't use like SliceX was later, but I didn't use any of that. I would do it off of Edison, mark them, and then do them in the playlist. So I stuck with, like I said, I was on a 7. I got a crack version of 8, and then I loved 8. 9 came out, and I did not like 9 at all. Like my boy ended up getting it. I wasn't feeling it, which is why I stuck with 8 so long. And it did everything that I needed it to do. You didn't have to have some super advanced computer. I had some shitty 04 Dell computer. One of those, the one that everybody's seen, the desktop one. And yeah, man, like I can't even keep track of how many beats I made on that thing. But in 2014, I got into Maschine. And then that has been my primary thing since. But to this day, I still use FL to sequence and, mix, master, and shit like that. Like if I have to do anything, I throw my entire set list in FL and then figure it out from there.
Yeah. It definitely, and it's crazy to see how it's evolved too. Because I think the first one came out in 03, I think, officially, somewhere in there.
It might have been before that. I think FL, if I remember correctly, FL1 is like 99, 98, something like that, maybe 2000. Yeah, it's really early. And like you're talking about, the evolution of it's insane. They're still building on it to this day. It's a trip, man.
For sure. And it's crazy because you mentioned Ninth Wonder. I feel like he kind of helped combat the stigma of the making beats on a computer type thing.
Absolutely.
Because I think a lot of people like frowned upon it up until he was like, hey, wait a minute, I'm doing all this stuff on here. And then now we see people like Madlib doing beats on iPad.
On an iPad, the whole album. I know Ninth has talked about this before where he was saying basically during that time period, he would go to like beat battles and, different settings like that. And he had been banned from some of them just because that was a thing that they didn't accept. It was during a time period where if you didn't have gear, physical hardware gear, they didn't allow it. It wasn't accepted. But if someone else is at the forefront of that, please let me know. But I kind of look at Ninth like pioneer. He was like one of the first dudes that, like you were talking about, like he broke the stigma of what could be dope on software. Like his beats were better than what he was making them on, if that makes any sense.
That's how I feel about Apollo Brown's work, because Apollo Brown, he makes everything on Cool Edit, which nobody uses Cool Edit to make beats at all. Like, it makes no sense at all. But then you hear his stuff and you're like, that had to have been done on an MPC or something. And he said, like, no, I've never used an MPC in my life. He's like, he's like, if you put an MPC in front of me, I probably wouldn't be able to make a beat on it. Right. And I'm just like, you would never think that, because his stuff is very, like, dusty, old school hip hop, like that sort of style, almost like East Coast style. But he's never made anything on anything other than Cool Edit in his whole time of making music. And I'm just like, that's incredible. But
it's mind blowing, man.
Yeah,
it's mind blowing
for sure. And it just goes to show, like, the tools aren't really important. It's about the person and what you can do with the tools.
It's what you have in front of you, not what you can obtain. Because I know, and this is not to talk shit, I know that you have seen people, especially, you know, doing the social media thing. There are some people where they have tens of thousands of dollars of equipment, if not more, and they can't make anything interesting to save their lives, you know. But you have other people where, like you were talking about, I mean, shout out to Tatamaki. Like, that guy he'll use an iPad and make things on Koala, and it's mind-blowing.
Yeah.
From start to finish, he has an entire concept on essentially a free app. And I think that we've talked about it on the podcast before. It's like the gatekeeping thing. You know what I mean? There were, you know, talking about the Ninth Wonder thing. You have a lot of people where if you did not follow this exact path of what they wanted you to follow, immediately you were irrelevant to them. Yeah. You know what I mean? Or like they wouldn't accept you, or they would just cast you off. Like, you know, fuck out of here. You don't know what you're doing. But then you have people like that show you the gear is irrelevant. DiBiase makes shit on a PSP. You know what I'm saying? He's done things where he's made beats on a Switch.
Yeah.
Like I've seen people use Korg has that I don't remember if it was a game or an application, either way, but on the DS, where it was the whole synthesizer on the DS. I've seen people make amazing things with that. So yeah, like never let somebody hold that over you, whether you're into music or you're getting into it or it's just something that you're interested in. Like, all of that shit is irrelevant at the end of the day.
Yeah, for sure. I always find that stuff super interesting too, to see people making different types of music on different devices as well. But it's great to see, and it's great to hear for you that you've been able to, you know, find what works for you as well. And obviously, I think you mentioned at the beginning, you've released stuff under the name Mr. Watson as well. I know you've done some singles with Chill Moon Music, things like that. So are you no longer using that name, or are you just going strictly with the Dellvon Watson name, or?
It's more so a rebrand. I have been contacted by multiple people, and they were giving me advice about basically like a way to improve kind of what I've got going on. I'm trying to figure out how to word it, but I feel like what I've done up to this point, I definitely have a couple of highlights. You know, I've done some cool shit. I have just one of my tracks with Chill Moon. I have over 10,000 streams. I know that ain't shit to some people, but to me, I thought that was pretty amazing. I've had my music in a Tubi movie before. And again, some people are like, well, who cares? But there's certain things that I've done that I kind of look at as a highlight. And if someone has advice, and I know that it's not coming from a place of destruction, you know, like they're not trying to be a dick or say like, you know, give it up. But if they're being constructive and they have history where they've proven themselves, I'll take advice from anybody that's willing to give it. Yeah. So I can't argue for something that hasn't necessarily worked for me. You know what I'm saying? If I got to a point where I was making music for a living, that's my ultimate goal.
Yeah.
So if someone is gonna give me advice that will help me towards that, I'll never tear it down.
Yeah, for sure.
So
it's
that's
like,
that's what the rebrand is about.
It's that constructive criticism. I think is
Criticism,
the
yes,
big
sir.
thing for sure. And with that in mind, I guess if it's technically like it's almost like reinventing yourself a little bit in a way too. What do you think your goals are going to be now moving forward? And like, what exactly are you working on now that you're going to be kind of rolling out here in the near future?
It is going to be this album right here. I literally just got this at the doorstep as I was walking in.
Nice.
It is going to be this. This is done. It's ready to go. I will announce a date coming up very, very soon to lock it in. But yeah, man, to answer your question, things that I know that I'm not necessarily good at. I like the idea of Instagram as far as like, I think it's well known. I like bullshit that's on there. You know what I mean? Like, I like the videos that everybody likes and some of the ones that people don't like. I like the hood rat shit. But social media at the end of the day is a tool. And I'm not utilizing it the way that I should. And I recognize that I know my flaws. You know what I'm saying? And I'm real about that. I don't know if this ever happened to you, and please answer if it does. You ever wake up some days and you're just like, I fucking hate this social media shit?
Yeah, that's pretty much every day.
Okay.
To an extent.
All right, cool. It's not just me.
Yeah.
Dude, there's some days where I wake up, man, and I'm like, I don't want to look at my phone at all. You know what I mean? And not necessarily because like I'm not like a full-blown content creator. You know, there's some people, they do this shit for a living. There's some people where they do it because they make money off of it. So I don't really have that same type of thing going on. For me, it's more so, like I said, I was using it the wrong way. For a long time, I didn't post anything on it. It would just be me consuming instead of like creating or engaging with other people. But that was one of my flaws. And I realized that, and I wanted to improve that to get to a point where eventually I can make money while I sleep. You know what I mean? But I also, the thing that I struggle with is the integrity aspect of it. I can't, and what I mean by that is I'm not going to vouch for a product that I don't believe in. I've talked about it before. Again, I've talked about it before on the podcast. You have certain companies that make products, and just because I like your product doesn't mean that there aren't things that you can improve on. You know what I mean? I think that there's room for improvement in everything, and I also think that with competition, you should be raising the bar up, especially for the people that pay for something.
Yeah.
My example is the Maschine. I bought the Plus as soon as it came out. This thing came out in 2021 and just the other day received its new update. So basically from the moment it came out until about a week ago, it finally got its standalone update. And in my opinion, it's not enough of an update to warrant a fucking 4-year turnaround. It also doesn't have some of the features that its competitors do, and it's also more expensive than its competitors. Now, am I saying that it has to be exactly like the NPC in order for me to enjoy it? No, I love Maschine. I fucking love this thing. It is what I make basically everything that I do on. I can get my ideas out instantaneously on this thing. I don't have to think about it in the regards of like, how do I do this or how do I figure? No, like I know this fucking thing, man. But again, just because I know it and I enjoy it doesn't mean there aren't things about it that I don't enjoy.
Yeah.
And I'm willing to call them out anytime I think something is wrong. And I know a lot of people get to a point where they start getting paid for something and they shut up because the money is shutting them up. I'm not that type of person. So I already know in regards, I'm shooting myself in the foot off top because I'm not willing to be quiet about something that I believe in. You know what I mean? If I believe in something, I'm going to stand on it.
Yeah.
And so I think that it's a double-edged sword. You know what I'm saying? But to answer it, eventually I would like to be able to make some form of money off of it, like while I sleep, and be able to escape working. Like, I don't work a 9 to 5, but the theoretical 9 to 5. I would love to be able to do music for a living. And I don't want to be rich. I don't want to be famous. I just want to do well.
Yeah. Hey there, hope you're enjoying the episode so far. I just wanted to take a quick minute out to let you know about a couple different ways that you can support the podcast. One of the ways is by clicking that support the podcast button within your streaming platform. That is if you want to be a monthly supporter of the show. You can contribute either 99 cents, $5, or $10 a month. So that's the first way, and that's the more traditional way that we've had now for the last couple years. The other method that we actually just recently introduced is from our good friends over at Ko-fi. Ko-fi is a virtual tip jar. We have set our limit to a minimum of $10, but you can go make one-time, one-off donations. So if you visit coffee.com/the Proven Knowledge Podcast, you'll be able to donate. And all these different forms of donation go towards getting new guests every single week, getting potential sponsors on board to do giveaways, and overall just making the show better for you guys. So if you want to do that Ko-fi link, it's ko-fi.com/the Proven Knowledge Podcast. Otherwise, again, look for that support the podcast button in your streaming platform if you'd like to be a monthly supporter. And I just want to say thank you guys for your contributions. And without further ado, let's get back into the episode. For sure. And I've had these thoughts in my mind as well. And I've had conversations with other people, even in other industries as well, about what you're just talking about, where it almost feels like you're trying to stay on the company's good side because of the financial aspect of it. But you're right. I'm with you, because I think you have to maintain your authenticity and your integrity. But I almost look at it as, you think these companies would want that honest feedback because it allows them to improve products in the future. But You're right. Sometimes the company will just be like, nope, you're done. And you just get blacklisted and that's it. And it's like, I've heard of that even for like events. Like, people will get invited to like events of like a product launch or something. And it's like, if you post a video saying anything bad about it, you might just be done. And that's it. So It's like, I can see both sides of the coin. I can see why people always say good things about like a product or something like that. But I feel like you almost have to be able to live with yourself, because you're referring your followers to buy that product or invest in that company. So it's like, can you really live with yourself? Even if you're getting checks from it, it's like, there has to be a fine line where it's like, you have to be honest about how you feel about it, because that's important. So I stand with you on that one. I think that's a big thing. I've never had the opportunity yet to do anything like that, but I've definitely kept it in mind too, where it's like, if someone came to me, first of all, I would have to say I would need to be, using their products for a good amount of time before I even decide like, oh yeah, I'm going to review this or, co-sign it or whatever it is. But I would want to do the same thing. I wouldn't just want to say all good things and nothing bad about it if there were things I felt needed to be addressed from my perspective. So yeah, I agree with you, man. I think that's a big thing.
It's like, you don't want to, and you also don't want to be the opposite of where you're just shitting on everything just for the sake of it. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, you want to make sure that, like we're talking about, integrity. Mm-hmm. If you really believe in something, you want to be able to promote it and champion it. But if there's a glaring flaw, I think that you should also be able to mention that without, being slandered or critiqued into the realm of, like you're talking about, being blacklisted. Yeah. So it's one of those things, man. I think it's across that bridge when you get to a type of moment. But I know me, and I'm just gonna be honest. Yeah. And I have a very hard time not being able to do that. So it's gonna get me one day. I already know it, but hey, man, it is what it is.
I'd say either way, it's something that is commendable for sure, because it means that you're still yourself. You know what I mean, through everything. Right. And that's no doubt. And that's what you have to live with at the end of the day. That's what I look at it as, is you have to live with your decisions. You know what I mean? If you're doing something that is kind of shady, or something that is kind of you're lowballing other people, or you're just doing things the wrong way. It's like, if that affects someone or it doesn't, you have to live with it. You got to wake up every day and know that's the decision you made.
Couldn't agree more.
So yeah, I'm right there with you. I always think about that. It's like every time you think you want to do something like that, you're like, I couldn't live with myself. Like straight up,
I'm right there with you.
Couldn't live with myself. So yeah, definitely an
Some
important
people
conversation.
will sell their integrity, man, and I've seen it, and I know I'm not one of them. Yeah. So, well, again, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
Yep. We'll definitely see what happens. But either way, I know a lot of good opportunities are gonna keep coming your way for sure. So I think it's exciting to look ahead and kind of see where that's going to go. And I definitely wanted to touch on the Beatcast with you, because obviously I've talked to RTC, I've talked to Al, and their experiences doing the Beatcast. I know, how important the community has been to a lot of different producers out there, including myself, who got involved a couple years ago. Talk about how you got involved in the Beatcast, and really just what does it mean to you overall to be involved in that community?
Definitely. It means a lot, man. I've talked about it with them, and I think I might have mentioned it on the show before, but that was around a time where I wasn't. There was a lot of changes happening in my life. I wasn't so much making music at the level that I do now. It was more so like every now and again I would turn it on to do something, but I legitimately do not remember how I came across the show. I don't know if it was someone that I followed or, one of those random came up on your timeline type of things. But yeah, man, I somehow saw it, and I saw that they took submissions, and I made the first track that I did, and it was 2 beats. I vividly remember this. When I submitted it, I didn't know what the stipulations were on what the criteria was, you know what I mean? So I uploaded it or whatever. And I think the total time on my beat was 1:30, maybe 2 minutes. And they cut off after a minute.
Yeah.
So it started to get into the second beat, and they really liked the first one. And I was like, the second beat is the dope part. It's what ties it together. Shit cut off.
Yeah.
They moved on to the next one. And I was like, okay, cool. So now I understand the structure of this. I'll upload the next time around. So I end up watching the whole show. I submit for the second beat, and I remember their reactions when it played, and they were like, holy shit. I was like, okay, cool. I really like the sample pools. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I think I got in around season 3, maybe 2. I think it was season 3. But they ended up having a reaction to what I made, and then I would submitting, and it was every single time I submitted, they had, a positive reaction or whatever. So I don't even know how this came about. One of them from the team ended up hitting me up, and they had asked if they could do an interview with me. And it was right around the time, I think it was on my birthday. This is in 2022. And so I was like, well, shit, yeah, I'm down. I'll do an interview. We ended up doing it, and apparently it went really well. Very shortly after that, they asked me if I wanted to be a part of the show.
Wow.
And me and Ellen got on, I believe it was the same time, and been there ever since.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man, I think that the community aspect of it's dope. There's a lot of people that I interact with every single day from the show. I talked to, shout out to Rudis. I talk to that guy basically every single day. Tatsumaki's another dude that I talk to essentially every single day. I've mentioned our group chats on the show before, but yeah, man, it really is a good community, and it's we talk about things unrelated to music. We talk about ways of improving each other's music, supporting everybody's projects, and showing love. I think that it's a really strong, tight community, and it's only growing. It's crazy to think that some shit that was happening only in Phoenix is now this basically worldwide thing at this point. Yeah. You know what I mean? Producers from all over the place. And we've even met people that didn't make music that ended up becoming a part of the community. And I think that's the thing that will make it bigger than ever, is the support of people outside of just music making. You know what I'm saying? Consumers of it. That'll make it next level.
Yeah, for sure. It's crazy for you too, because that's a very natural way of that whole process going down too, where you're just sending in songs, participating, and then because they're such a big fan of your work, you end up being able to, be involved in the show itself. And I think that goes to show, like, you can't be afraid to, put yourself out there for those opportunities, because you never know what'll come from it. And you were just a fan of the show. You're just sending in music, and then this opportunity comes your way. And I think that's super incredible. And to me, you're such a big part of the show too now, because like I said, I jumped in like 2024. You were already a part of this show. So I didn't even know the backstory behind like how you got involved and everything. But I think that's really incredible. And then obviously, like, you guys do the live streams, you do all that sort of thing. And like the moments such as the last interview you guys did with Eloquent. I remember the cows. What was the thing with the cows?
Man.
Dude, I was dying. I'm watching it on YouTube. I'm just like sending emails. I put that on in the background, and I'm just dying at the cow thing. Like, the cow thing's just so funny. So it's like,
play it again, play it back
again. And then Eloquent comes back in. He's like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, I don't get the cow thing. I'm just dying at that.
Man, that's funny. I've said it. They fully got me back into making music.
Yeah.
Like, they are responsible for me getting back into full blown production of, like, consistently making music. Making a track 2, 4, sometimes 5 a day, whereas before it was, man, I'd make something once every couple of months, or, kind of, it was just something that I kind of stepped away from, you know what I mean? And I'm sure you've experienced that. Life will get in the way, kick your ass, kind of take your attention away from something that you enjoy doing. But when you have that passion there, eventually you'll lead back into it. Yeah. And that's kind of what happened for me. Seeing the reaction of people, and it wasn't even just them on the show. It was getting messages. The followers part it's cool, but that's not why I do it. You know what I'm saying? I'm not necessarily doing, like, that's not the reason for me, but it is cool to have that happen.
Yeah.
I've said it before. I make music for me, and I think that it's dope that other people enjoy it. But if you are kind of in your own head about shit, like, I'm an overthinking ass dude. So a lot of times I'll be in my own head about something. To have other people validate what you're doing, it's not necessarily that you need it, but it is appreciated. Yeah. And if, you're lying if you say that it doesn't do something for you. You know what I mean?
It always helps a little bit, even if we don't want to admit it.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely. And we're down to the last few questions here, and these are ones I ask on every single episode. More life-related stuff. The first one is, if you could go back 10 years ago and give yourself any piece of advice, or maybe not change anything at all, what do you think you would do?
Man, I fucked up an opportunity for something big roughly 10 years ago. And if I had an opportunity to do that all over again, I would have allowed myself the place for not being a master at something, if that makes any sense. I mentioned it already, but that was around the time when I started using Maschine. So I think by that point I had it for roughly a year, and I had an opportunity for something. I did not feel that I was good enough at the Maschine to do it to that capacity. I basically scared myself out of it. And I have learned with time that you don't necessarily have to be this, grand wizard or something in order to be able to take an opportunity. Because if I would have had that opportunity and done something with it, I would have grown naturally in the learning aspect alone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Time and the repetition of using it, and the the amount of using it that I would have been doing would have made me automatically better at it.
Yeah.
So that is absolutely something I would have kicked my own ass about. If anyone listening ever has an opportunity that they don't think that they're big enough for, go for it. The worst thing that can happen is it doesn't go well and it's a life lesson. It's a story later on that you could tell. But don't be afraid of an opportunity that comes along because you yourself are in your own head about it.
Yeah. And what do they say? You're never really ready for anything. You just got to kind of jump right in and figure it out as you go. So
absolutely.
Yeah. And if we flip that question then and we say 10 years from now, where do you think you envision yourself musically and in life in general?
I would like to produce albums for people, whether I've always been a real big fan of R&B, whether it be like an R&B album or obviously I like rap. If, working with like a rapper or a group of rappers or whatever the case may be, some kind of compilation, something along the lines of that. To do something like that on a consistent level where I produce an entire body of work and, I'm able to make money off of music where I can do that for a living instead of working. Getting the fuck out of my job is my ultimate goal. I don't know how else to put it. That is what I would like to do.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, man, a lot of people are right there with you for sure. So, but I think just being able to keep showing up every day and putting in the work and getting a little closer every day, that's the biggest thing. And I think you're doing that very well, man. So do you have any final words of wisdom for the listeners before we get out of here?
Anybody that's interested in production at all, this isn't even like a Beatcast plug. I'll plug the Beatcast as well. But if you have any type of interest in music at all whatsoever, whether you're an artist, producing, if you're a songwriter, a rapper, a singer, whether you do graphic design or, make videos, whatever the case may be. If you ever doubt yourself or you would like to contribute to something, reach out to the people at the Beatcast, reach out to the people on this podcast. Everybody that's a part of the community is solid. There's not anyone that I could think of that we flat out just don't enjoy. You know what I mean? Like, everyone is a positive person and they would be willing to help you in any way, shape, or form. They'll be willing to contribute to something that you got going on, help promote a project, push it, advertise it, any of that. But yeah, I would say continue doing it. Even if you feel like you're not getting the results that you want out of it, keep pushing through. I promise something will end up happening for you. It happened for me, and I'm still learning from that shit as we speak.
Yeah. And I have to say, I second that for sure. Because like I said, I've been involved in the community for a couple years, and, just being able to be embraced by you guys and a lot of other producers. I've met a lot of cool people just from being involved in it. So I got to say thank you to you guys for, letting me be a part of it as well.
Absolutely.
And yeah, I definitely second that. But Dellvon, I gotta say, man, thank you so much for stopping by today. And it was really, really cool getting to finally talk. I feel like we've talked here and there, but not officially like this. So thank you, man. Thanks for stopping by, and we'll do this again soon if you're down.
Absolutely, I would be down. It was an honor, man. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, guys, for listening today. That was episode 275. We'll be back this time next week. As always, hit that support button on your podcast streaming platform if you'd like to send us any funds, and feel free to leave us that 5-star rating if you enjoyed today's episode. So we'll see you next week. Thanks, everyone.